Hey guys, welcome back to the Mom's View. I'm Colette, this is Kaylee, and this is Carly. And of course, if you're here for the first time, welcome. We have a great time here on the Mom's View, so stick around. All right, today I just tweeted for some questions, and we got so many, and my mind is like, so I had a hard time picking, so I'm just gonna go through like this. I'm gonna look down, and whatever the first one is, C-section versus natural birth, moms judging other moms. This is from Kathy Falcon. Okay, so you've had C-sections, natural, judging other moms. Thoughts?
Don't judge other moms. Yeah. Like,
what's there to judge?
You know what? I noticed in the comments I got, like, people judged me a lot when I would say I'm having a C-section. I don't know.
Like, so crazy to me.
Like, why would Kaylee choose to have a C-section? Like, why did Kaylee choose to have all of her kids C-section? Like, it wasn't my choice with Braylee.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I couldn't have her. I was in labor for a really long time. Nothing was happening. And I had to have an emergency C-section. And for my safety, I chose to have C-sections after that because I didn't know if I would have the same experience, end up having another C-section. Once you've had one C-section, there's always a risk of your uterus rupturing if you're trying to give birth naturally. Like, don't judge other women's choices. Like, if someone does choose to have a C-section, that's okay too. Like,
isn't that like mom shaming?
Yeah. But it happens, and I was really shocked, especially with like my fourth baby. Like, why is Kaylee choosing to have a C-section? I'm like, I've had 3 C-sections. That would be so dangerous.
I don't care if you have to cut off your butt and unscrew your kneecap to get the kid here.
Right.
Your job is to provide and get them here safely, and however you intuitively and your doctor and your husband or your partner feel like that is best, that is what you do.
Yeah.
You know? I was reading an article about because when you first are pregnant, you know, they want you to write this birth plan and how you want it to go. And I'm like, okay, on the realness, so at what percentage of the birth plan actually happens how you want it to happen? It's gonna be Sunday night after I've had my long warm bubble bath and warm milk. Then I will start contracting. And then my husband will rub my feet, I'll get a pedicure, and then it's like that shit doesn't happen like that because it's life. Like, you don't plan for, you plan the best that you can, but like, I never had a birth plan. I knew what I had in mind, but I knew going in that things could change so quickly, and I did not want to have my mind so set on one thing that it would freak me out completely if that couldn't happen. And I think that it's smart to explore all your options and to find out what's best for you. The thing I can't understand is, like, I don't think that how you did it is any easier or harder than how I did it versus the girl who didn't have any drugs and did it all natural. It's like, who cares? We brought this child to the earth. That's amazing. The end.
It's a beautiful thing, and I just, like, I'm so grateful because I didn't ever get to experience that. So I'm grateful because I got to experience both of you guys having your babies, and like.
But guess what? We don't love our kids any more or less than you.
I'm just like grateful that I got to like be there and have that experience. So thank you very much. But
and if you haven't, just Google it.
Yeah, I still think like having a C-section is a beautiful thing too. Like having them hold your baby up, that's beautiful. Like seeing your baby for the first time, they bring them over. Like as long as everyone is like healthy and happy.
I just think judging.
I think there's just no room for judgment.
Yeah, it's robbing someone of their joy. Like, why, as a mom or a woman, if you feel like it's right for you, it does not mean that it is right for her or the next girl down the road. And when you put your emotions onto somebody else, that's robbing that person of how they should feel and think for themselves, and that's wrong. It's just wrong.
Yeah. I am a firm believer in do not judge anyone. Like, don't even judge. Like,
your past self.
It drives me crazy. Yeah, yourself. Like, don't judge yourself for what you need to do or what you feel like you should do or whatnot. It just robs you ultimately. If you're the one judging, you're taking away from your own happiness.
Yeah. And don't allow others to judge you. Like, that was the biggest thing for me. I was like, why are all these people judging? But who cares?
And you have to be so careful because I was talking to my sister about this the other day. Is she wasn't able to have kids, and sometimes people judge her because they're like, well, why did you adopt, or why this? And then it's like, I do have a sister that she maybe could have kids, but she doesn't want to. And it's like, you don't know where people's minds are at, where their hearts are at, and what they want out of life. And you have no right. Like, you just have no right. And you're just robbing from yourself when you project judgment onto others.
Yeah.
Next, what are your thoughts on the Me Too movement and Time's Up?
Love it. Girl power.
Girl power. So I'm not super familiar, but it's standing up for women against sexual harassment and abuse in the workplace, and taking away from their jobs because of it. It's all has to do with that. And the Me Too movement is helping. I think it's about helping others stand up for their, when they've been sexually abused or whatnot. And so, anyways, do you have thoughts on that?
I think that women are just like finding, and it's hard because like all of these women are so strong, and I think like shame and worry have made them stay quiet for too long, and they're like, the time's up, like no more. I'm speaking up. I'm not staying silent anymore. And I think it's because none of these women want to see women in the future have to say, me too. I've experienced that too. I've been there too. Like, no more. Like, it's not happening.
I guess I'm not surprised. Like, you would think that we have come and evolved, but I guess really nothing surprises me anymore. And I just think it's amazing that we can have this platform to speak our voices and seen as humans. Like, I saw a shirt the other day, it said, what did it say? It said human, kind, and then it said be both. And I loved that. I'm like, because we need to be kind and we need to be human, and we realize we're all the same. We all bleed the same, like you're a man or a woman, gay, straight, not white, like we're all human beings. We all are here for this one purpose. It's become happier and better individuals. And it's just crazy that we still live in a world where that happens to people. And it's so sad. And I am proud of those women who are standing up for.
I agree.
I just think it's so common for people, and it's hard because I'm not like a man hater, but for men in these positions to want to feel power and in control, and they've used their position to make these women feel this way, and it's so terrible.
It is terrible.
Like, why is that happening still? And I feel very proud of, like you guys said, very proud of them for speaking up, because it's not easy and it can be embarrassing and shameful. There's so much shame that is associated with that. And I think that is why women stay quiet, because they feel shamed or, shameful, and they shouldn't.
Or a fear, like the ones in Hollywood. It's like, I'll lose my job. I'll lose, like there's a lot to lose to speak up. But that bravery and that bearing the change that might happen, like especially if you're abused in your family or something, speaking up is going to rock the boat, But you have to know that you're worth it. Like your health, your emotional, mental, physical health is worth rocking that boat.
Right.
And
it's not normal, and it's not something that happens that you should just be okay with. I love that message is like, it's okay for you to not be okay with what has happened.
Yes.
And I think it's great because when one person decides to be vulnerable, it's the Me Too thing that's like strength in numbers. Like, if you are that one that dares to be vulnerable, you don't maybe know how many voices you may be speaking for.
Yes.
So now is more the time than ever, I think, to speak up.
Yeah. And knowing that it will be scary and that it might be painful even to speak up at first, because it is scary to be vulnerable like that. But it is worth it. 1,000% it will be worth it for you, I think, and for others. One of the things that I was thinking about this whole thing is sometimes when we get involved with a movement like this, which is wonderful and great, and I really I support it 100%. Sometimes we can allow our hurt and what we've been gone through and our fear and our anger to sort of push us in the other direction, to where we're judging and hating others. And one example is just, there were some men that did this, but I'm going to hate all men now because they're all like this. Like, you have to kind of step back and take a minute to still appreciate and love humanity. And I guess I just thought of this because when I was watching the Golden Globes, one of the actresses that got up, it was after they had talked about the movement, and it was powerful. And then she mentioned the next nominees for the next thing, and they were all men. And she said that, and they're all men, and which was, I get it, it was funny. But in my mind, I was really upset because I felt like you're taking away, like, here's these men that have really worked hard, and, I don't know what their lives are, but they're here and they're ready to receive this award, and then we diminish them in that moment. Like, we take away from, and you're all men, and we hate men now. That's kind of how I felt. And maybe she didn't mean it that way, but I think we need to be careful about not attacking everyone when we feel attacked, and really not attacking anyone, but speaking up, speaking our truth, standing up for what's right, but being able to see the humanity in all of it. I don't know.
Right. Well, there are a lot of men who are supporting the movement too. So you have to keep that in mind. There are men who are supporting these women and saying, speak up, this is not okay.
That only divides it more.
Right.
When you assume that every man is like that. You can't group all of those men together. They're individual. And I love that you mentioned that, like made that point, because I think it is easy just to be like, categorize them all together. And that's not fair to do.
I also don't think that we should take away from the fact that there are men that are abused.
Right.
There are a lot of men that are abused, and by women and by men, and that we don't need to exclude them in this either.
Yeah. I was going to say, I thought it was really funny because before, when they were walking the red carpet, Deborah Messing was being interviewed by E! And she made a point to say, E! pays their women less than they pay men.
Right.
And I was like, go girl, being interviewed by that station or by that channel and calling them out.
Why not though,
Speak truth.
So funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, our next question comes from She's a Songbird. What do you think strength means? What are your definitions of strength in motherhood as well as outside of motherhood?
Jeez Louise, this is deep.
Strength.
This is honestly something that I feel like I've been like, what do I find strength? Like, how do I feel strong? Or what do I, I've been trying to discover this in myself.
I think it's moments when I want to rip my hair out that I don't. That I'm like, I can do this.
I can do that.
It's fine. When you want to just lose your patience and then you like talk yourself off a ledge and you're like, okay, not a big deal. That's fine,
I love that quote by President Monson. Let me find it.
Okay.
It's like courage. I'm gonna find it. You guys can keep talking and I'll look.
I feel like this is a really deep question. I could probably talk for like 8 days on this one.
Because also don't you feel like you're strong in different ways on different days in different ways for different purposes?
For sure.
You know, and so it's like, I don't feel like there's one defining moment where you can be like, this is strength. I think strength means a lot of things. Like one day it's maybe me not losing my temper, and the next day it's me keeping it together for a friend or family member who's like, things are falling apart for them. It's like strength for me personally, that's what it means, is maybe being my best on different days in different ways for different purposes.
Yeah, that's true. I think if I'm speaking in strength in general, because strength, the definition for me has changed for sure over time. And I'll touch on this because I know that we've all recently read Brené Brown's Braving the Wilderness.
We're obsessed.
It's so good, you guys. We're not getting paid,
tell.
but goodness, we could promote it for days. But she talks about having a strong back and a soft front. And I thought, what does that mean? Because
my French really soft.
really soft. Really. But I definitely have had phases where I go through life and, like one example is I feel like for a while I was really quiet. And once I started to get angry, I felt like that was powerful. I felt like that was strong. Like I was strong and just not putting up with crap anymore. But now I feel like I'm in a different place where that doesn't really serve me. Like the anger is almost debilitating. And so strength for me is coming from a different place. And I think in a, what's the word I'm looking for? Metaphorically speaking, when
chaotic is metaphorically.
I love when you try to guess things.
I know, because I always want to get it right, and then I'm always wrong. I'm like, okay, shoot.
Yep, that would be like exactly it.
Sorry.
It's like we go through life and we kind of put an armor on. Like we kind of get defensive, we get offended, and we feel like we're showing strength. We're getting our voice heard and we're showing strength. But sometimes that only shows weakness.
I was going to say that. That should have guessed.
I don't know, it's really hard to explain in it, and I'm trying to do it quick because I know there's like more questions. But I think to have a strong back, instead of having armor all around you and you're just pushing everybody out and you're holding your strength and you're getting your voice heard, when you can listen to others and be vulnerable and hear what they have to say, with knowing who you are, and that's where the strong back comes in, like knowing your worth, knowing who you are, knowing where you stand, but having the ability to hear and feel what others hear and feel, but still hold your own. I feel like that is true strength to me now.
Because it's hard to set boundaries, which is a huge it's a huge part of strength, and to have empathy, you know? And I feel like those are really, really hard things to do.
Yeah. I really feel like you hit the nail on the head, because we were talking about this earlier, where if boundaries are so important, and when you learn to hold boundaries with yourself, then you can learn to hold boundaries with other people, and that's where your strong back, soft front comes from.
Yeah.
You know, you can still be loving, compassionate, and vulnerable, but know yourself and hold your ground and be true to who you are.
Right.
And boundaries is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
It is interesting though, with like different experiences, different things we go through, how we find strength in ourselves in different ways.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know, right now I'm just like, okay, I feel like I've gone through all of these things. I feel strong, I feel compassionate, I feel like I'm in a good place, but am I strong? You know, it's just like, but I was gonna read this quote, because I am the same way. Like nowadays I'm so tired, I'm just like, I got through it. And I love this quote, and I've always loved this quote. It says, sometimes courage is a little voice at the end of the day that says, I'll try again tomorrow.
I love
And
that.
I just really, really love that. I think that that is very strong. Trying again, no matter what. Because some days are terrible. Some days are hard. But just knowing like, I'm going to try again. I'm going to do better tomorrow.
Yeah. I love
Even
it so
if
much.
I don't, I'm going to keep trying.
Yeah.
All right, our last question comes from Deb X Trav. Maybe talk about how to handle negative people / situations in life. This is a hard one. Take it away, Carly.
Since I am always the talker, I'll keep talking. I was just thinking, I have a really close relationship with somebody who's always negative. They just kind of have that personality. And so I can't. It's Kaylee. Don't tell her. She's so negative about Mod Podge.
Negative Nancy over here. About Mod Podge.
You have to like. She just is so negative about the Mod Podging. She just always like, damn that Mod Podge.
This is like such a serious episode. We've been laughing so much that my face hurts.
Well, because here's the thing, like hard things, like you have to find light and humor in hard things to get through them. And when you've gone through like hard things, you look back and sometimes it makes you laugh. It's just the truth.
Or sometimes you're in it and you're just laughing because you can't believe how ridiculously hard this is.
You're like,
Oh my
seriously right now?
Yeah,
Laugh
that
or cry.
happens.
I've said that out loud to Heavenly Father sometimes. I'm like, seriously?
Yeah, me too.
That's what you gotta do. Okay, negative people. If you can't remove them like from your life, if it's like a boss or a coworker, somebody you can like draw a hard boundary and just, you know, like a neighbor or whatever, if it's somebody that you know is gonna be around in your life, it can be so draining, because I feel like if you try to relate to them or like empathize with them, it almost takes away from you. And so
it feeds their negativity.
yeah, and if you start, I've noticed even if you give them an inch, like, oh yeah, I can't believe they said that, you just immediately get down on that level with them, and then it's like gossiping. You know, like if somebody starts gossiping, why is gossiping so addicting? Like, oh my gosh, what did she do with who and why? Rather than to be the person like, let's just not talk about this. Like, you kind of have to stand up for positivity to that person, and not in a way that's going to, well, gosh, you just think I'm being so negative. You kind of just have to practice positive behavior with really, this is what I have noticed that works for me, and I'm probably doing it wrong, but I just try to reinforce positive things to maybe distract them from dwelling on the negative. Because sometimes that's just in people's personalities until they realize that, and the last thing you want to do is hurt their feelings or make them feel any more negative about themselves. And what I realize is usually that person is coming from a place of hurt, or a place where they're trying to heal from, or a place that they haven't yet discovered, so it feels more natural to be negative. And so I've just tried to replace that behavior with something more positive that's like completely opposite. And then maybe that person will realize when they're around you, like, you don't kind of mingle in the things that they're talking about. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think you can't have like a different expectation.
Yeah.
Like if you know that that person's negative, just know that.
Yeah.
And just know like, I'm gonna have to keep being positive, because I can say a positive thing and they're gonna turn it into a negative thing maybe.
Right.
But that's okay, because we're gonna try to bring it back to the positive
Right.
instead of getting sucked down, because it's easy to just be like, oh yeah. Like,
And get your feelings hurt for having hope that they're going to react a different way. Yeah.
yeah, so I just think, Just try to stay positive. Just do this.
And I think even drawing boundaries is really healthy, and I've had to do that. Like, I know you really want to talk about this or you really want to go over it. I just don't feel comfortable. It's none of my business. Like, can we please just move on from it? And just making it really neutral, not about them. Don't finger point, just making it more about you. I think that can help them sometimes draw the light from, oh, maybe this isn't something they're comfortable with, and they move on.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't, like sometimes people will
Just not get it.
be really offended about that. And I think you still have to take care of yourself. Like if, I don't know, I've been getting into energy work more and more lately, but I feel like we are ultimately responsible for our own energy and our own, how we look at the world. And if you are in a strong, positive place, it is helpful to be, it's helpful for other people that are negative to be around you because you can help, but sometimes they drag you down. And not that you need to be mad about that or angry at them, but it's just natural that we feed off of each other's energy. And so it's important, like for me, I spend time every morning choosing my energy and getting into a positive state of mind and a place where I can face the world. And sometimes when I can't, I have to remove myself from conversations or situations or places or people, that I know is not healthy for me at the moment. And I've had to say things like, I know I'm not in a great place right now, but I can't talk to you about this because it really upsets me, or,
I love that you're owning, like, this isn't a good conversation for me.
Yeah.
It makes me feel negative, and you make it about you. I think with a negative person, that always works the best. Because if you ever say, oh, you're just being negative, don't act like they're obviously going to take that to the 10th, So you have to make it about you. Like, I just don't feel comfortable talking about this. I'm not in a good place. Can we just move on?
Right.
Or like you said, I have to remove myself.
If you have negative people in your life, still have love and compassion for them, but mostly just surround yourself by more positive people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Everyone has a negative person in their life, and love them.
Yes. Love them and
Find something to laugh
be
at.
positive. Like the mom's view. Yeah. Anyways, let us know in the comments below your thoughts on all of these topics. And as always,
Have a good time.
have a good time.
On the Mom's View.
We love you guys. Bye.